Hello guys, and welcome to your fourth lesson on how to create a comic strip. In this lesson we are going to sketch the panels of our comic. On the last video we created the main foundation of the design of our main character. Now we are ready to draw him on our panels. The first thing that I do is to think of the actions of every single panel. That's why we created our script, to know exactly which pose we need on every single panel. I will give you some quick tips before we start. When you are sketching, don't be afraid if you make mistakes. We are still planning the comic and maybe some things can change. Try to draw without worrying about how it is going to look. You can fix the details with the eraser tool, or if you are not convinced, you can start over. The important thing is that it looks understandable and the panels flow from one to another. When I am sketching, I am constantly asking myself if the drawing looks like my original design. If you are not that experienced, it is always a good tip to go back to your previous drawings of your character, so it will look exactly as you want on the comic strip. As you can see here, I have already started with the test sketch of the first panel. I will hide this layer and start sketching again so you can see all the process involved on this drawing. I will lower the opacity and sketch on top. I will create a new layer and on this one will be my final drawing. Remember to create new layers so you won't mix your drawings. Also rename every layer so you won't get confused and it is very easy to recognize them. Now we are going to start our first sketch. As I told you before, don't be afraid of making mistakes. The important thing here is that we are planning our final comic. You have to understand that this step is for you to make all the changes you need, so be confident on yourself every time you draw your panels. When you are sketching, draw your lines without stopping too much. You have to lose your hand and feel confident every time. If you need, you can make some warm-ups before starting the sketch. Take advantage of the tools that Photoshop has. When I am sketching, I use the eraser a lot because I like to feel that I am drawing on a sheet of paper. But if you find yourself in trouble, use the Ctrl-Z to undo your work. It doesn't matter if you use the undo tool. The important thing is that you finish your sketch, but also think about using it less and less every time so your sketching process will get better each time you start a comic strip. Remember to draw your character correctly like on our last video. One great tip is to have access to your previous character sketches so you can see all the details that your character has and you won't miss anything. Also, you can visualize better your design and it will look exactly as you imagined. If you are having any problems on how to draw your character from a front view to a profile view, one thing I can suggest to you is to deconstruct your character into simple figures and then give them a 90-degree turn. This first panel is where my main character Roy is just listening to what the teacher has to say. As I told you before, you can have your previous sketches accessible. You will also need your expressions so you won't forget how your character looks on every single panel. Another great tip is to take a look once in a while to your script, especially if you are doing a comic with more panels or more actions happening on the same panel. In my first panel, Roy is not making any significant action or expression. On this part, I am using the rotation tool from Photoshop to make a better line while drawing. Remember to use every tool that the software provides in order to make your work a little easier. The objective here is that you have to feel more comfortable while drawing, and some of the tools will help you achieve that. You have to know your tools in order to use them on the most creative way possible. Photoshop will help you work faster, so take advantage of that. I will give you some tips on which tools I use the most for sketching besides the brush and the eraser tool. Previously we talked about the rotation tool. You can access it by clicking the letter R on your keyboard. You click your pen tablet and drag on the canvas so you can rotate it. This will help you draw on a more comfortable way and you will increase your speed while working. You can also click Shift while dragging so you can do a stepped rotation. The next tool that I use is the Marquee tool. You can use this tool by clicking the letter M. This is a selection tool and it comes in different shapes. You just click and drag on the canvas on top of the specific area you want to modify. We also have the lasso tool, which is also helpful for doing selections. This one is used to a more specific area and it also has different types of selection. You just click the letter L on your keyboard to use it. Right after I use a selection tool, I normally use the transformation tool to modify the size of the designated area I select. This will help you resize some shapes so you can get the proportions of your design correctly. You just click Ctrl T on the keyboard to use it. You can also modify the scale of a whole shape without using the selection tool. These are the main tools that I use while sketching in Photoshop. Try using them on your work and also try using some other tools. Maybe you can find some others that will help you go faster while sketching. It is very important that you sketch with all the detail that your character has. This will help us when we arrive to the inking process. You will be able to see which elements have to be on your final inking process. For example, in my comic, Roy has some details on the neck of his shirt and on the sleeves. I will draw all the details so I won't have any problems on my inking. As you can see the image in front of you, I am drawing the pose of the first panel of my character. In this part, my character is just listening to what the teacher has to say. He's just sitting on his school desk. If you have any troubles finding the correct pose for your character, you can do a quick internet search and look for photos that might help you achieve what you want. Drawing with a photo reference is always a good thing to exercise. Another good tip for drawing a specific pose is for you to act what you need. Sometimes we cannot find a very specific pose on the internet, so it is a good thing for us to do those poses. Try acting out the poses you need and you can understand them better. Use a camera if needed and take photos of those poses and study them. Redraw them every time and as many times as you need. Another very good tip is to take your sketchbook to any place you go and draw the people that you see outside. This suggestion will not only help you get better while drawing poses, it will help how different types of people look and you will create better character designs as well. On this part, I am using the lasso tool and the transformation tool to fix the proportions of the head of my character. Remember to use the Photoshop tools to go faster on your sketch and to fix problems like mine. Every time I am sketching, I usually erase and clean my drawing while working, because it helped me visualize my sketch better, but I do this because this is how I work. Maybe you work like me, or maybe you prefer to draw a lot of lines and clean the sketch later. It doesn't matter how you work if you get it done correctly. This is something that you have to be aware of, your workflow. It means how much time you dedicate to one task and which are the steps you follow in order to complete that task. You can set your personal workflow depending on how fast you can work certain steps while sketching. As I told you before, you have to draw all of the details that your character has. It doesn't matter if you add them at the end, just make sure you put them. In this part of the panel, I will start adding his shorts. My character is on a sitting position, so I will draw the legs accordingly. Also, for this part of the panel, I will start sketching his school desk and his school chair. These two elements will tell the audience that the situation is happening on a school. Besides the dialogue, it is important to tell the audience where everything is happening. Like in Peanuts or Calvin and Hobbes, you don't have to draw a full and detailed background, but you need to draw some elements of the place where your characters are. In a lot of comic strips, the background is very important, so the artist does some establishment shots to indicate exactly where everything is happening, and then on the next panels we can see the interiors of the place. But in our comic strip, we are going to indicate the place by drawing a few elements. We don't need to put a lot of detail on this practice. I will suggest you that you do some backgrounds on your work and see which style works better for you in the end. Maybe for your comic strip you will need detailed backgrounds, or maybe you can make it work with just a few elements. Practice this and see which one works for you the best. In this part, I am just finishing the details of the school desk and I will start drawing his chair. As I told you before, these elements are telling us that he is in the classroom. To achieve the shape of the chair, I am using some straight lines to sketch them faster. Just click and hold Shift on your keyboard and draw in the direction you want your line to go. I am doing the same steps for the other part of the chair and also for the part of where the back goes. I only use the Shift key when I am sketching, but I normally don't do this when I am inking. When I am inking, I don't like to see my lines with different width than the ones done with freehand. That is why I don't use the Shift key on that step. I will explain that part better when we arrive to our inking process. For now, my sketch is almost finished. I am finishing some little details on my first panel sketch. I normally add these little details if needed and look for lines that are not very clean. It is just a quick fix so the sketch will. Here I am cleaning the body of my character a little bit. I am fixing some lines of his shirt and cleaning with my eraser tool. In this part, I will start making the other arm of my character. I like to give some depth to my drawing so it won't look all in a profile view. That's why I draw the left arm behind. It gives the sensation of volume to my character. You can also achieve this effect better by adding these kinds of detail to other elements. In this case, the desk and the chair also have some volume. Remember to keep adding all of the details that your character needs. Adding depth to your drawing will help appreciate better the design, and your drawings won't look flat. You can also work on your perspective to give more volume to the background, in case you need it. Practice your use of perspective and depth on your panels. This will also help the audience to read better the comic strip. I will use the references of my character, the ones we did on the last video. I always have them on a separate layer so I can look at them at any time. By looking at my original design, I know where to fix some parts of the head. I will start by fixing the chin, the size of the neck and the size of the ears. It is very important that you check out your original design every once in a while so you won't miss any detail and you can remember how to draw some of your character's features. Now you can see that my character looks a lot like my original design. I am showing to you the comparison of my two drawings. I will just fix the hair of my sketch so it looks a bit messy and with a lot of volume, like the one on my original design. Before finishing your sketch, try to look on some details that you can fix and help your character. Don't be afraid if this takes a lot of time. You will be satisfied with the ending result. I think we are on the finishing touches of the sketch of my first panel. I will take this opportunity and check if I can fix any details of my drawing so we can make it better. Just make sure that you achieve the final result that you were expecting. Check your first character designs as many times as you need. Take a look closely to every detail you drew. Make sure that you put all of the elements of your design and don't be afraid on making drastic changes. The important thing is that you are happy with your sketch. Last but not least, be sure that you clean your sketch so you won't get confused with all of the lines that you have in front of you. The cleanup will help you recognize better your sketch and ink quicker. If you think there are a lot of things that you can fix, do them on this step. Remember that we are still planning our comic and this is not our final product. Sometimes we are afraid of starting all over again and we try to fix our sketch. Don't be afraid. If you need to start over, do it. It doesn't matter if it takes you a long time. You will draw better on your second round. I am using the lasso tool on this part to fix the school desk. This selection tool is letting me choose certain elements to edit. It is a very useful tool for this kind of situations. Now, with my move tool, I am putting the desk near the character. It looked like it was way too far away from him. That's why I fixed it using the tools that I explained earlier. We are finally done with the sketch of the first panel. We have our main character Roy listening to what the teacher has to say. I am going to hide my original design so you can appreciate better the final result. The only thing that we are missing is the speech bubble. I am going to sketch it on the upper right corner of my panel. For the speech bubble, I will not worry if my figure is perfect or not. I just started by drawing some lines until I got a round shape. Once I have my round shape, I will draw the indicator of who is telling the dialogue. In this first panel, the teacher is the one speaking, so I will put the indicator to the right. We cannot see the teacher, but with the speech bubble, we are telling the audience where the character is. Also, the eyes of Roy are helping the audience locate the teacher. Even that she is not on the panel, we know someone is there. Sketching the speech bubble is very important because you have to visualize the space that the text will take inside the panel. This will also help you know if your speech bubble is covering a character or an important element that the audience has to see inside the strip. Our first panel is done. I am going to sketch the next panels on a time-lapse video, so be sure to check that out. I will also be explaining the process, and if you miss anything, go back and rewatch the video if you need to. The time-lapse won't go very fast, so you can appreciate everything. Now that I have my first panel sketched, I will copy the same pose that we already drew. Using my lasso tool, I will select it and duplicate it. I will change some of the elements on my second sketch so it will look different from the first one, but this will help me keep my character with the same look. As you can see now, I rotated the head of my character. I redrew the face and his eyes. Now I will sketch his speech bubble and I will also change the pose of his hand. In this part, Roy is giving an excuse to what the teacher told him on the first panel. And finally, for my third panel, I will do the exact same thing. I copy the last pose and I will change some elements of my character. The first thing I changed was the speech bubbles. In this panel, my two characters are talking. Roy is delivering the punchline. For this part, I am looking at my final expression, so I can draw it on my final panel, but I will change the direction of Roy's face a little bit. I decided to start sketching a 3/4 view of Roy. Now he will be telling the joke to the audience. I am sketching on top of my previous pose so I won't miss the exact proportions. When I arrive to my new expression, I will delete the previous face and then merge the two layers so I can have it all combined. At last, I will redraw the hand so the pose will also feel different from the previous panel. Remember to use your lasso tool and transformation tool to edit some specific details of your sketch. Here, on the first and second panel, I will use those tools to fix the size of the eyes of Roy. I like the size better on the third panel. This is the final part of this video. I hope this lesson was helpful for you and for achieving your sketches. Be sure to check all the video again if you miss anything. I want you to practice your drawing skills and make your own comic strip alongside with me. I want to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any doubts or concerns, please let me know. Goodbye.